All right. Welcome to the Nathaniel podcast, Tyler. Um,
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate
y-
it.
yeah. So to the one who's watching right now, Tyler Remez is known as Wiz of Copy in X, and I'm really curious, where did that come from? Wiz of Copy.
Oh, that's a good question. So I was like under my personal name, kind of. I was Ty Remez for like a year and a half. Um, and then I was like, okay, I kind of want to go anon. Like I feel like there was part of me that just felt like I wasn't really speaking like my truth or like I wasn't being really authentic. And maybe it's like insecurity or whatever, but I made the decision to go anon. Actually, it was after listening to I was hanging out with Nick Bass Bra, and he
Mm.
was like talking about like why he was anon for so long. He's like, yeah, it just like helped me find my voice and like I felt like I was able to speak my truth. And I was like, wow, it kind of like resonates with me. Like I'm gonna consider doing this. And I was like studying copywriting at the time, and I saw some other people that were like Wiz of Ecom or like Wiz of Biz. So I was like, okay,
Yeah,
like I'm gonna be Wiz of Copy.
yeah. Cool. That's funny, dude. But do you like plan anytime soon to kind of like become because Bass Bra became Nick Sweeney, right? Do you ever plan in the future to like become Tyler Remez?
Yeah, I think the time will come eventually. I'm not sure when. Um, but yeah, I think having the like your face being your own personal brand so people can attach some sort of like human aspect to your account is probably important. So eventually I'll make the switch, but I wanna lock in on like my content and really like enhance my voice to everyone before I just kind of like come out of the closet, so to speak.
Cool, dude. Cool. So, um, I saw your LinkedIn bio, and I found something really interesting there, dude. Like you said,
Oh,
outside of academia and my freelance agency, I enjoy reading about psychology, sales, persuasion, and biology. Around peers, I'm constantly thinking of creative solutions to help their emotional needs. Like, where
wow,
did
you went
that come?
deep.
Where did that come from? Like the constantly thinking of creative solutions to help their emotion. That sounds really interesting. Emotional needs.
Dude, oh my, that is like so structured for like LinkedIn, like finding an internship, because that's like why I wrote it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, good question. Good question. No, like, but it is kind of true. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm always just like connecting the dots between like what people are doing in their life right now and like how I can help them. So like that's kind of where it came from, I would say. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like that's really all I could say on
Is there like
that.
an aspect of psychology in there that kind of that's why you kind of mentioned emotional needs? Like, were you inspired by psychology, being a psychologist? Maybe that popped in your head somehow.
Yeah, I would say like I'm like for myself, like I'm a big like Robert Greene, Jordan Peterson
Yeah,
type
yeah.
of guy. Like I've studied a lot of their videos on YouTube and I mean I'm reading Laws of Human Nature right now.
Mm,
Um but yeah, I would say like I have like a keen eye for like recognizing like limiting beliefs in people.
yeah.
Um so like maybe that's kind of where it came from.
I feel that. I mean, right. I'm also I haven't read Robert Greene, but I have like I'm a fan of Jordan Peterson. Like he because so I did have like a father growing up. And so I kind of was just like a guy looking for a masculine figure. Like just look going through the internet looking for some kind of like path in a way
Hmm.
because I didn't really know what to do in my life. And I stumbled across Jordan Peterson there and he kind of made me want to look for meaning because he talks about a lot about meaning. Yeah. So what's your like how do you find Jordan Peterson? What's your favorite um book
Yeah.
maybe or like how does he resonate with you the most?
Yeah, so when I was living down in Austin, I would throw on like his I think it was like the psychology lectures of when he was
Mm,
teaching back in Toronto.
yeah, yeah.
And I went really deep into like the big five.
Right.
The personality stuff that he lectured on. So openness, neuroticism, conscientiousness, agreeableness. Um, it's the last one. I always forget.
Yep.
Anyway, but I went through all those lectures and like took really detailed notes on them. And I liked a lot of his stuff on like IQ and like just learning about how different IQs correlate with different occupations. And I was like kind of tr trying to figure out like, okay, like where do I fall into all of this? Like, what are my strengths? How can I use my strengths to advance myself in my own career? And yeah, he was just like really helpful. I like gave me a really good understanding of like who I am as a person.
Yeah.
I ended up taking like he's like a big five, like understand myself. I think
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
understand myself. So I like took that test, like really analyzed it,
Yeah.
um, honed in on my weaknesses, and I would say like he covers a lot of stuff, but his personality lectures really resonated with me.
Right. It's interesting. Oh, if you don't mind sharing, like, well, what did you get in the understand myself?
Oh my God, it was so interesting. So I was really high in openness. I was high in I was like in the middle of agreeableness. Conscientiousness, I actually scored a 0.
Whoa, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, and I like through watching the Jordan Peterson lectures, it was really interesting because like on his lecture of conscientiousness, he was explaining how scientists really don't know what makes a person conscientious.
Hmm.
Like there is no like they use IQ, but like IQ is not an
Yeah.
accurate determining factor of conscientiousness.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so interesting. It's like okay, like while I was taking this test, like I scored a 0 on conscientiousness. But like I can write out a to-do list, like get things done, see a
Yeah. Yeah.
plan like all the way through. So it's like wow, like conscientiousness must be just a learned skill that anyone can actually get better at.
Yeah. Discipline.
Um, Yeah, exactly. So that was a huge unlock for me. It's like, okay, like my natural state is very unconscientious, but I'm very creative and I can still like see a plan all the way through. So um that was definitely something that I've created the systems to do so. It's like, okay, wow, that was just a learned skill that I've developed over time.
Right. How about the extroversion and neuroticism? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, neuroticism, I was pretty high.
Mm.
Extroversion, I was kind of in the middle, which makes sense because I think I get energy around people. So sometimes I'm introverted, sometimes I'm extroverted. Um, yeah, but that was like
Cool.
those are the key downloads from it.
Cool. Actually, for me, I got like I think like a 2 on agreeableness. Like in politeness, I got 0. I was like, oh my God, I'm a rebel, dude. Like, yeah. And
It's
I
funny.
also had like a very high openness to experience. I think maybe there's something about that. Like now that I'm curious, you mentioned that you scored high in openness. Maybe there's something about that when you're in this entrepreneurial internet space, maybe there's because being an entrepreneur, being open to risks, but then having that conscientious aspect of you to be like calculated with your risk. I think there's something about that.
Also with openness, I think there's like this study that's been done on psychedelics and openness,
Mm.
and that like every time, or maybe it's like the first time you take a psychedelic, um, your openness score actually like increases an entire standard deviation to the right,
Wow.
which makes a lot of sense. So I don't necessarily think you need the drugs to do it. Like you said, like I think entrepreneurship can kind of bring it out of you just by, taking the calculated risks and like just throwing yourself out there.
Wow. Is that like the research that you read, is that permanent or is just like when you take psychedelics you boost and then you go back, or is it forever there?
I'm not quite sure on like the whole science behind it, but yeah, I'd assume it probably is not like completely lasting.
Mm.
It's probably something that has to be like it's probably just like a muscle, like over time you practice it and it develops. I think I like with all this personality stuff, I think it's all a muscle that can be trained.
Yeah, yeah,
And depending on how many reps that you focus on um like those aspects of your life is how well they'll be trained. And like anything, if you don't use it, you're gonna lose it. So
for sure. like when you don't practice it. Yeah, definitely. But I'm curious with when it comes to MBTI, have you like taken the test too? Just in terms of
Hmm.
personality. Yeah. What did you get?
I was ENFP.
Whoa.
What about
That's
you?
like, oh no, I'm INTJ. We have the same. I thought I was like we were completely opposite. ENFP. What's ENFP again?
Extroversion, or yeah,
No, I mean like
extroverted, sorry.
the name because they have names
Oh,
like. Do you
yeah, it's
remember?
the campaigner, I
Oh,
think.
I see.
What's
So
INTJ? It's like architect, right?
yeah, architect. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm not really familiar with ENFP. Like, do you know? Can you explain on that? You don't mind?
Yeah. So I guess like the celebrities or like the authority figures, typically they're actors, which makes a lot of sense. Like I feel like I can kind of mold myself into certain characters depending on like which skills I want to perform.
Hmm.
So a lot of actors. Have you seen what's his name? Have you seen the Dead Poet Society, the movie?
No, no.
Oh, I think his name's yeah, Robert. I think it's Robin Williams. Yeah, Robin Williams is
Mm.
ENFP.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Um,
know that guy. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Um,
Isn't he a comedian? Yeah, he's a comedian.
uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of. Let me pull it up. I want to see the ENFP famous people. Um, I think like Charles Darwin maybe is like an ENFP.
Mm.
Alan Watts. I think Grant Cardone is as well. Oh, Charles Dickens, not the scientist that I just mentioned. But yeah, there's it's a variety of people. I think ENFP suits well for like sales, copy, just like being
Right.
creative in general.
That's awesome. So you kind of like just landed into that that area.
Yeah, just kind of by trial and error, trying out different things and like everything in the universe is kind of meant
Mm.
to be like it just like slowly but surely you're getting closer to your actual purpose and what you're meant to be doing, which is cool.
Do you feel like when you put your mind into something, like you can achieve it? Do you ever feel like that? Like just choose something. For example, like one day you decided, you know what, I'm gonna be a dentist, and then you were just like, yeah. Have you ever thought of that? Like you can do that?
It's a good question. Um, yeah, that would be an extremely conscientious type of person,
Mm.
which I think I could be. But yeah, I think like if I wanted to be a doctor, like I would just drop everything and like go to school and like I could do it. I don't know if I would enjoy doing it.
Mm.
But yeah, I feel like I've always had some, maybe it was because of like playing football growing up or playing sports, being around a lot of other people who are actively like achieving goals or setting
Mm.
high goals for themselves. I think like growing up around that type of environment definitely helped.
Yeah. Because the I watched your podcast with Jack, and you kind of mentioned that actually, like you had a job, and then you just saw the copy thing, and then you just like went all in or something like
Yeah, dude, my story's really weird.
that.
Well, obviously, like Jack's been in the picture for most of it. Because I don't know if you knew this, but like we went to kindergarten, elementary
Mm.
school, high school, whatever, all together. And yeah, it was my sophomore year of college that summer, like going into junior year, and I was working this golf course job. Like literally, it was me and one other guy, my boss, on a little nine hole course in my
Mm.
hometown. I was working like 50 hours a week there, and then I had another job at night that I go to. I was like a server at this country club
Mm.
in North Barrington, which is like a pretty wealthy area, like around my house. And I didn't know why I was working all these hours. Like I was like,
Yeah.
why am I doing this to myself?
Yeah.
And I think it primarily was because I didn't have a lot of fulfillment
Mm.
with like my education and like where that was going.
Yeah.
Um, so while I was working this golf course job, I was literally just out in nature. There was probably like two or three golfers a day, and I'd have all this time while I was mowing the roughs, like
Yeah.
8 hours a day, pretty much all by myself. And I was listening to podcasts, Andrew Huberman. That's where I like found Dan Coe. That's when I found Alex Hormozy, and I was
Right.
like, there is an entire world that I am not exposed to.
Yeah.
And then one day I was sitting on my lunch break, literally just on the lawnmower eating a turkey sandwich, and Jack calls me. He goes like, I think he was traveling Europe at the time.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, like I just started writing, like check out this newsletter I wrote. It was like the first edition of his newsletter. And I read
Yeah.
it. I was like, this is sick.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you gonna be, a writer? Like he was going to
Yeah.
Northwestern at the time. I was like, what are you gonna do? And then he was explaining to me like how he met someone on this train
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how like people in Europe were like, yeah, like it will maybe take like 10 years for you to get like really good at your profession, but like if you find the thing that you really like and you just pursue it, like anything's possible. And then he was like going on this rant about like all this stuff and like showing me like Sahil Bloom, and like I just got immersed that summer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I didn't take any action until later in the year, but that was like the thing that cemented me into this space.
Sorry, what year was this again?
This was 2022,
22,
the
22.
summer of 2022.
So like about 2 years exactly, because right now, right? Something like that.
Yeah, just about. I mean, it'll be coming up to 2 years this summer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's awesome, man. I love it. So what's this? Because my story, if you don't mind me sharing, is I
No, yeah,
also
go
just
ahead.
came to the internet space like kind of like also by accident in a way. So I actually just started writing like February and Twitter, but I was answering questions in Quora in January. So the reason for that is, you know, Nicholas Cole, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in December, it's like it's gonna be a new year. Oh, new year, new me. You know what I mean? Just like looking for self-improvement stuff. So I went to YouTube, like looking for books to read, for 2024, change your life now, something like that. And then I came across the video of Ali Abdaal, and then he featured The Art and Business of Online Writing by Nicholas Cole. So that's
Mm.
that's when I got acquainted to Nicholas Cole, and then I just like went through the book. Like I think I read it in 2 days or something like that. I just went through it. I was like, this is man, like there's so much opportunity in here. So
Hmm.
what I just did is like I did his path because that's what he did. He answered Quora questions and then he just got viral. And what I did was
Wow.
just answer Quora questions over and over again for a month. And then I just decided to post my answers in Quora everywhere, like LinkedIn, Medium, Twitter. And then for some reason, like one day, my phone just kept on buzzing, ping, ping, ping. Like it just kept on
Wow.
having notifications. Like so many people are liking my stuff in Twitter. So I was like, dude, I gotta double down on this. Then at that time, I had like 100 followers, and like those were my friends, and I don't know, like some people who just followed me randomly. But after a week, I had like 300 or something like that. So I was like, whoa, man,
Wow.
I gotta like take this seriously now. So I started like researching. I saw like I that's when I met Dan Coe and I took his course, like 2 hour writer. And I just
Hmm.
went down deep down to the money Twitter thing. Then that's how I met Jack. Like I saw him, he messaged me, said he has a cohort. And like I didn't even have an offer back then. I was just doing this for fun. But when he asked me, like, what's your project right now? Like I just pretended, oh dude, I'm creating a course. I was like, I'm creating a course right now. I wasn't really, I was just like writing online. I didn't really know what I was doing. But
Yeah.
when I took his course, which you helped him create, like the Carto and the free one,
Hmm.
um, he said that you need to like learn a high value skill. And one of the things that appealed to me was ghostwriting, because Nicholas Cole always talks about ghostwriting. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna be a ghostwriter now. So yeah, that's kind of like how I got into this space too.
Crazy story. I can't believe you started off on just answering questions on Reddit.
Quora.
Quora,
Yeah,
same.
yeah,
It's pretty similar thing, right? Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I guess I also didn't want to post on Twitter because like I had friends there. And you know how it is like when you have friends there and then you're suddenly posting about motivational stuff about your life. It's like it's kind of awkward.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah,
started,
those
mhm,
beliefs like at the start are just like kind of hard to overcome. It's like
yeah,
my family could be reading this, like my
yeah.
friends, like what are people gonna think about me?
Yeah. But then when I posted that first thing and then like people liked it, other people, I don't even know if the my friends saw it. I was just like, whoa, this actually works. And all that those fears just disappeared. And a lot of my friends actually unfollowed me. Like I think
Or
they got
not
tired.
real, not real, not real supporters.
Yeah. Well, it's not really popular here in the Philippines. I mean, like
Okay.
here, it's like it's still like really traditional, man. Like not even entrepreneurial. Like they really believe that you need to go to college. Like they are firm in that. Like they would kind of like shame you if you're you don't have a degree.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that's why I'm in university, but I took a leave of absence because I was like I decided to take this whole Twitter thing seriously. And like you, I also had to like work odd jobs. Well, I did it to sustain myself, like because I'm independent now. I don't like I live independently. Um, right now I'm a customer service representative online, but I also like did some organizing files for lawyers, which it was just like something to get food. Yeah, I
Hmm.
just needed to like look for a job. But yeah, man, that's how I went to Twitter.
That's a crazy story. Wow.
Yeah.
Seems like you've really like committed yourself to making something out of nothing. Like that's really what this all is like, can I figure it out for myself? Can I survive? Can I make
Mm.
it to the next step? Can I see my vision all the way through? And it's like you're doing it. So it's awesome.
Thanks, man. So back to you, bro. Like, what was your vision back then? Like when you saw that potential, like with Jack seeing that newsletter, like what did you kind of imagine you would be doing? That like did you already think copywriting or
Oh, yeah. No, not at all. I didn't even know what copywriting was till like 6 months in.
yeah.
Um, I envisioned my original vision was something to do with fitness. So
Right.
when I was a sophomore in high school, um, I actually suffered from like three bulging discs
Mm.
from like improper weightlifting form when I was training for football. And like I was kind of a dumbass with it, but I played like the entire season through. And I remember like vivid pictures of me like before summer camp, like 5 in the morning, just like laying on the ground, like waiting to be picked up for football practice.
Mm.
And like literally like stomach on the ground, like sprawled out because I was in so much pain. Because with hurting or with bulging discs, like you get
Yeah.
this weird um you have the sciatic nerve like that
Y-
kind of connects to your vertebrae.
Yeah.
And I was getting this sharp shooting pain down my leg that made it even like hard for me to stretch my hamstrings.
Yeah.
So I was taking like 5, 6 Advil pretty much every single day before practice and like
Yeah.
before games, so I could like be mobile and
Yeah.
like not be so stiff because I mean, my lower back down to my knees was just in pain constantly. Um, and so I thought I was going to help people like overcome back pain and
Mm.
like help them become more mobile because it was something that I was able to kind of figure out myself because I went to like three different physical therapists.
Mm.
Two of them like helped me for a little bit. And then I went to this one guy who showed me a couple of really good stretches.
Right.
Um, but then I just kind of like went down these rabbit holes, kind of very similar actually to like what Nick did with his foot.
Right.
Um, and I started doing like Wim Hof breathing. Like I had no idea at the time that like this was actually going to solve it, but like the breathing actually really did help. And I didn't even know at the time before hearing what Nick actually did with the transferring the energy to like the specific injury and like basically getting your
Mm.
body to heal itself. So I think I kind of tapped into that a little bit. when I was trying to heal my back, and just through like doing different exercises, strengthening different parts of my legs, like now I'm like the same thing happened with me. Like the doctors told me, they're like, you're never going to be able to play contact sports. Like like this is an injury that most 50-year-old men like have to get surgery for.
Mm.
Um, and so I did have like this little bit of hope. This like my one therapist told me, she's like, you're young, like hopefully your body will be able to kind of recover and get things back into place. Um, but yeah, so originally I thought I was going to help people. Like I had this idea to do like a high ticket service. I read $100 million offers. I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna have an offer like specifically for back pain. And then I got to the point where I was like, I don't want to be talking about back pain or fitness
Yeah.
like my entire life. Like this is just the jargon, and it's just I felt super repetitive, and I felt like I had more room to grow.
Mm.
Um, then I decided to learn ghostwriting. I joined Dakota Robertson's first Growth Ghost cohort, and then
Right.
that kind of started the path down to like learning content writing,
Hmm.
then having to learn sales, then having to learn how to build a landing page, and just kind of picking these skills like offer creation, and kind of just finding what worked best and how I could help people the most with.
Right. So you just like went from, was this like fitness bro, and then you, how did you meet Dakota, or how did you like come across?
Yeah, I was following him for a while. I had tweeted probably like 2 months. I was tweeting about like fitness routines, and then I got super into like kettlebells.
Uh-huh.
And then one day I just decided, it was like, okay, like I need to start making money. And
Yeah.
I just like DM'd him. I'm like, do you have 101 coaching? He's like, actually, I have this cohort starting, and
Uh-huh.
blah blah blah. And then took that route.
Gotcha, gotcha. That's interesting. Do you think you'll ever like go back to that or never?
Probably not. I
Yeah.
just for all of my life, like I was so fitness and health focused, and
Mm.
I kind of got burnt out of those topics. Like I know what to do,
Mm.
and I don't know if I have the patience to help other people like
Yeah.
go through their struggles. So I'm kind of done with that, I think.
Yeah, it's admirable what like Nick does. Like he seems like he doesn't run out of things to say about motivation with like fitness and breathing and things like that. Yeah, it's really hard. Like when he went to the talk, like when we had the the master class, dude, I was like, that was the probably the best talk I've ever been in my life. I could just see his passion and his like, it was just so good, man. It's
Yeah,
just so good.
his the way he can bring up like certain things. Like one thing really resonated with me on that master class. It was like I think it was when he was talking about like finding someone asked like the question like how do you find a girl to like talk about these
Yeah.
topics with, or like how does your girlfriend feel about like all this health stuff? And like the way he's framed it, he's like there's always going to be that little like inner kid who wants to be loved, and it's like you have to overcome that and be the person who you're like be the person who your ideal mate would want to be, and like after that the rest just kind of falls into place. And when he said that, his energy just like
Yeah, it just
elevated me,
yeah, man.
literally.
There's something about the way he talks and the things he says. It also like makes you feel warm on the chest. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, really does.
Yeah. So you mentioned you were in the football team before. Um, do you think like there's anything about um sports or the football thing that kind of like contributed to your career right now as a copywriter?
Abs Absolutely. Sports do a number of things. I mean, I think I did learn a little back on that like conscientious note. Like I learned how to, like see a training program all the way through um, to really get to where I wanted to be. So like that's the number one thing. And it's like also you're working in a team environment. You're also playing a game, which is really beneficial because you learn how to play games really well. You learn to see and treat other aspects of your life like a game. Um, and that is like the ultimate meta skill, I think, is like being unattached, having the ability to delay gratification and really see things all the way through.
Mm,
and treat them as skills rather than being a victim of the outcomes. And like when you play sports, you know you have some sense of control. Like, okay, I can get better.
mm,
Um, like I want to get better. These are the actionable steps that I'm going to do every day
mm,
so that I can, become the free safety, become the receiver, play on the team. So same thing with like learning skills. It's really no different. It's like, okay, like I see that copywriting could potentially be a vehicle, or sales could be a vehicle, or whatever it may be. And it's like, okay, like I'm gonna do the same thing. Like what are the tasks that I'm gonna have to do to get
mm,
better at so I could really see success with this vehicle.
mm.
Um, just by deconstructing, the things that seeing other people's success of like, okay, like maybe I emulated some aspect of an NFL player that I really liked.
Mm,
And I took part of his game and made it my own. So it's like,
yeah.
okay, like maybe studying a few copywriters or studying a few sales guys who I really emulate and look up to, and and being able to transfer those into my own craft, which like learning that skill, that's like the ultimate meta, ultimate game, ultimate learning hack is like, can I find the three things within this skill, or that no matter what, if I focus on these three
Mm.
things,
The outcome will
eventually
follow.
like, yeah, the outcome will follow. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. But did you ever have like a moment where you in football and in copywriting in general where you kind of like doubted yourself? Because I remember like when I was a kid, this is the reason why I never became like it was hard for me to become an athlete as a kid because like I tried basketball and there was a time that uh we got I played. It was like an inter-school basketball game, and then it just like we just got blown out. It was like I think the score was like 79-4 or something. And I was like, what the hell, bro? We can't even score anything. Because I was also trying to shoot and it was like it wasn't going in. And I was really young at that time. I think it was like 10 or something. And at that point, I just kind of like sort of gave up on my basketball career. I was like, I'm never gonna be a basketball player. So I'm curious, like, have you ever had those moments where you kind of like, even if you put the work in and then things go wrong, you feel like you're hopeless or something like that?
Yeah, all the time. Like there was this one time I was writing some copy for a landing page, and I kept on rewriting it. I kept on rewriting it, and I was like, didn't really. It was one of the first times I was writing copy. I was like, wow, like I suck at this. Do I really have what it takes?
Yeah.
And like I even had a friend read it, and I'm like, what do you think about this? Like, where are you getting lost? Like, where do the words lose you? And he looks at me and he goes, it sounds like you rewrote it like 1,000 times. I was like, yeah, I did. Like, is it good?
Yeah.
And it all
But
goes back to like wanting to be good enough, or like feeling like you're never going to be good enough. And like
right.
that's one of the problems that I've had to overcome is like when will enough be enough? And when can I
Mm,
just trust myself and rely on myself, that the training, that the resources I've gone through, and like when is the point where I can just push everything aside and just do it,
mm,
rather than worrying about the outcomes. So yeah, like it's definitely happened, and it's definitely something I still run into. Um, yeah, that's pretty much all I got on
how about in
that.
football, dude? Like, have you done that in football or?
Oh yeah, I was freshman year, I was on the B team, and I like for the longest time I like could not accept it, like that I
Yeah.
was that I wasn't good enough. Um, and that was like one of the first times in my athletic career is like I didn't make the best team, and I was like ashamed of myself. I was like
Mm,
I didn't know about spirituality or like any of these other things at this point. So I really like beat myself out about it. And then to train and get better, I was really operating from a place of fear rather than a place of want, of
right.
like I'm living up to some expectation, whether it be like my parents or like my friends or like
Mm,
some unrealistic expectation of myself. It's like, no, I'm just not good enough. I just have to actually practice and put in the work
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and trust myself. But yeah, I think like in sports, that was the one time when I was just like I got really angry and upset, and all that energy that like looking back on it, all that energy that I spent like being frustrated about it. Like if I just put that towards,
Training.
yeah, training, acceptance, and like knowing that I will be good enough one day and that the result, maybe it hasn't happened yet, but eventually time will catch up and I'll be the type of player that I want to be. If I wish I would have had that mindset looking back. Like I was able to like reach my goals with my athletic career and all that stuff. Like looking back on it, I was proud of like what I accomplished, but like not knowing what I know now, I would have done it differently. Um, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm just remembering when you said that because I also had those moments. Well, I still continued doing basketball after the thing, like after that incident where we got blown out so bad. And I still tried. And there was this moment though when I felt like, because I don't know what it was. Like I didn't know why I felt like I wasn't good enough at all. There was this time when I had when we were doing, what do you call that? Suicides. You know that
Oh
like
gosh. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Back and forth,
the
back and forth.
suicides. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I just pretended that I couldn't breathe because I didn't want to do it anymore. Like I pretended that I had like something wrong with me just so that I could get out of the situation. And it's like when there's discomfort, I quit. Like
Mm,
I had a lot of moments in my life where it's like when I feel bad already, I just like don't do it anymore. I like fuck it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But
like I'm done. Like yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's only when I during the pandemic, 2020, I met David Goggins. Like I came across him. And then
Wow.
he was like, like motivation. And then I read his book talking about like, the inner bee and stuff like that. Like
Hmm.
the like pushing yourself. And that's when I kind of like saw that part of me where when I become uncomfortable, I quit. And when I like push through with that, I succeed in a way. Yeah. Just
Yeah,
want to
dude,
share.
like
Yeah.
no, I have a quick note on that. It's like that is like you're not going to be good at things the first round.
Mm,
It's like the difference between people who do become successful and see things all the way through and people who don't is like leaning into the fear of unknown. Like every time you have fear, it's an opportunity to uh, I wouldn't say it's like an opportunity, but fear is a good indicator of what you should be doing
mm,
because you're scared of it. So
yeah,
if you
yeah.
could just accept the fear and say like, okay, like maybe my body's trying to tell me something, like it knows it wants to go this way. It's feeling a little bit of resistance. It's like I'm going to look at fear as not some emotion that's going to knock me off the rails, but
Mm,
actually propel me forward. That's
mm.
been a super helpful reframe for myself.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely resonate with that. I remember one of Jordan Peterson's talk. It always comes up when we talk about like going to the unknown, where he said a story about like who's that again? The king from England, like the fictional king, King Arthur,
King
where
Arthur.
he talks about a story of King Arthur and his knights, and then they were looking for the like a sacred thing, and all of them were tasked to go to the place in the forest where it was the darkest. So it's like where the most scary part is for you, that's where you will find your most sacred thing. Like that's one of the
Uh,
biggest things that I found from Jordan Peterson.
that's really good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy how you can approach things especially in this game where the mental models and the reframes are so beneficial. Like you can view it through like the Jordan Peterson lens. You can view it through your own biology. You can
Yeah.
view it through like whatever it may be, whatever it is. Like there's really no right or wrong answer as long as you can just get through it.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's really cool, dude.
For sure. So I'm really interested. You mentioned in Jack's podcast that you like played NBA 2K?
Oh yeah.
Well, I used to play NBA 2K, but not really because I don't know, I didn't have like consoles back then, but I am a fan of NBA. And I want to
Mhm.
see your take in this. It's a weird question, but do you think that NBA has gotten soft?
Oh, yeah, I haven't watched a full basketball game in like years.
Yeah.
I can definitely say like growing up watching basketball and like what it is now, like people just shooting up threes, like the
Yeah.
game has changed. I don't know for better or for worse, but yeah, maybe a little soft. Even the NFL is like that now. They're taking out a lot
Mm.
of different types of hits and tackles. Yeah, it's probably a little soft right now.
Yeah. Because I remember this is just because I saw your post like after you helped Jack, you were like the Scottie Pippen of X or something like
Oh
that.
yeah.
Yeah. And back then it was just really tough, but now it's like they just don't play defense anymore. I just wanted to see your perspective on that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
well, the whole I'll touch on the Scottie Pippen thing
sure,
real
sure,
quick.
sure.
The
Go
whole
for it.
the whole Scottie Pippen thing is like Michael Jordan, like without Scottie Pippen wasn't as good as
Yeah,
he could have been,
right.
and like vice versa. Like Scottie Pippen made Jordan better, Jordan made Scottie
Yeah, yeah.
better, and like when they worked together, like they were unstoppable. So
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
that was like the reason behind like Jack and I went when we did the launch because we were just like we were up late at night scheming about certain things and like bouncing ideas off of each other and just like it just felt like we were dominating, even though we had no idea what we were
Yeah,
doing.
I see, I see. So, going on, I also like saw you mentioned you were interested in jujitsu. Have you like
Oh yeah.
tried that now or not yet?
I haven't yet.
Yeah.
Um, but my interest in it is because I did like Taekwondo when I was little,
Mm,
and I did wrestling,
mm,
and I feel like I need an outlet to be like physical or aggressive.
yeah,
Like I'm missing that aspect.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not hitting on it as best as I could right now.
And what's this? Are you an MMA fan or
Oh yeah,
just
I love it.
yeah? Did you see the
Love yeah.
knockout of Max Holloway?
Oh my gosh, dude, that
Yeah,
was crazy.
yeah, man. I
It
was
was
like,
the moment right before it was like 10 seconds left and like Max like pointed at the ground and
yeah,
then
yeah,
like Gaethje was like all right like you could just
yeah,
tell they're like we're just gonna give
yeah,
everything that we have these last 10 seconds. They were just
yeah,
going
yeah.
at it. It was awesome.
That's crazy, dude. Like the last shot was like, man, I've never seen anything like that. That's probably the most exciting thing I've ever seen in sports. Because this like is a
Oh my
buzzer
God,
beater.
yeah.
Like you don't see a buzzer beating knockout every day. You know what I mean?
Especially after that fight like those men just went 5 rounds like
Yeah,
as hard as they could and they still had energy left in the tank. It was like wow, this is fascinating.
yeah. Interesting. I've been a fan of the UFC since maybe like 2000. It was just recent, like probably 2018, something like that. I think that was a time when, because I became a fan when McGregor and Habib was fighting. That was the time. I think that
Mhm.
was 2018, and the reason for that is because um the boyfriend of my mother at that time was Irish, so
Uh,
yeah, and he was like the first like father figure that I ever had, like physical father figure. He was the one who kind of like told me to go to the gym, things like that. And he was like,
mhm.
"Watch this," and then he showed me McGregor, and like for some reason I just found it attractive. Maybe it's like the animal inside me that just also wants to hit things. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Definitely.
How about you, man? Like, when did you become a fan of MMA?
Um, I would say probably around the Conor McGregor area.
Right.
I watched his documentary on Netflix, like the first one,
Mm.
probably like 4 or 5 times. Like while I was like doing push-ups in my basement, like as motivation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And is he
Uh,
your favorite like fighter?
uh, he used to be, probably
Mm.
not anymore. I really like he actually just fought the Brazilian guy. What's his name?
Charles Oliveira?
Yeah, Charles Oliveira. I really
Yeah,
like watching
yeah,
him.
dude. He doesn't
He's
talk English,
electric.
and he's just like silent, but he like fucks people up, dude.
He does. And it's like chokeholds and
Yeah,
like
yeah. he's so
He's a really good grappler.
yeah, it's so scary because he can like beat you in anywhere. Like he standing up, he's good at like doing stand up with his knees and
Mhm,
in his like punches, but then when he gets to the ground, like just dominates you, dude. But
mhm.
I guess I wanted to see another Makachev Oliveira again. Though because I really want I think Oliveira had the harder route. Like Makachev, I don't think he didn't really fight anyone who was big instead except for Oliveira. While Oliveira was like Ferguson, you know, like what's his name? Dustin, Gaethje.
Yeah, he went through. He went
Yeah,
through a
like
lot of people.
he fought everyone, and Makachev just fought like I don't even know who he fought before Oliveira. So yeah, I'd love to see Oliveira again, but he lost like the recent fight.
Yeah, who it was? I don't some guy, younger guy from
Yeah,
Dagestan.
it's a new one. It's a hold on, let me. But
Yeah,
it's a
pull that up,
new
Jamie.
guy. Oliveira recent fight. I haven't heard of him, so hold on. Nah, I can't find it, dude.
I don't know where's.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, uh Oliveira. Yeah. So hold on, dude. Just going back to the thing, maybe this is probably like my question to you because I saw your Twitter and you had a lot of giveaways, dude. Like I saw your
Yeah,
yeah. Like well, first of all, like where did you or I guess everyone's doing it, but like did you really see or what did you get out of it?
out of doing the giveaways.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the time, I was just trying to grow my account, and giveaways were like a really good way to do that
Yeah.
because a lot of them were just going viral. So I kind of just like hop on the train.
Mm,
And yeah, I really had no idea what I was doing. I would kind of just emulate what other people did, and I was playing the algorithm game quite a bit with the
mm,
giveaways. Um, yeah, looking back on it, it's like I want my giveaways now to be solving a specific problem and like actually benefiting people and
mm.
being assets to my business moving forward rather than just
Just for
building them
growth.
for this, yeah, for the sake of growth. Um, I would say like I had maybe like one or two that were pretty authentic that I like really like knew what I was doing. But the
Mm,
other ones were just like follow the format, like okay, like here's the copywriter's playbook,
right.
type of thing.
So really
And like
you
looking back,
mhm.
no, go ahead.
No, you really you just did it for growth, like not really like for lead generation, or you also kind of like did that.
Yeah, I wasn't I really messed up because if I knew what I was doing with the lead generation at the time, I probably could have signed a lot of clients just by implementing like a simple like script going off of the lead gen magnet. Like whoever opted into it, I could like send them through like a little funnel message, book them on
Mm,
a sales call. But I did none of that. And now I have probably like 8,000 DMs from people who have received something from me and like I've never even contacted or like asked them how it went or like any
yeah.
of that. Um, so yeah, like I like the main lesson I learned from that is provide value to things that you really understand and that you can
Mm,
actually like really help people with. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time. Like you don't want people just to follow you off of a cheesy giveaway that you put together and like just for the sake of growth. Like looking back on it, it was really stupid, but I guess
yeah.
2020's hindsight. Um, yeah.
So what would you advise like people who are starting off Twitter? What would you tell them to do?
Yeah, I would say network like crazy.
Mm,
Um, because networking is a really it's probably the best way to sign new clients because you're limiting the cold outreach aspect of trying to sell your service. Because if you hop on like a quick call or like have someone on your podcast, they get to know you face to face. they get to hear your story, you get to hear
Mm,
theirs, you establish some sort of trust that you can't really establish over a Twitter like outbound message, I would say.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, like what you're doing right now is fantastic.
yeah, man.
Um, and then once you have those relationships, you can start providing like looking through their business, seeing where you could provide value, and
Mm,
then really practice the skill of whatever it may be, like writing newsletters, writing your like carousel educational course.
mm,
Maybe you're taking their sales calls for them, whatever it may be. Develop your skills first, and then once you have all the skills developed, you'll be able to solve problems that you solve for yourself and that other people don't even necessarily know that they have because
mm.
you've done it, you've gone through the process. Do the skill, network. So network, do the skill, and then sell the solution eventually when you're good enough. I'd say that's like the perfect route to go.
Gotcha. So skill acquisition or network, right? Or
Yeah, network first,
network,
100%.
skill acquisition, and then um looking for problems from other people.
Yeah, like really analyzing, okay, what solution did I solve? Who did I solve it for?
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
creating some type of course or consulting offer based off of that so you can kind of get out of the freelance work and
Mm,
start going into like either group cohorts or
mm,
one-on-one coaching. Because then at that point, like the fulfillment is kind of taken out of the equation, and then you can kind of transfer what you learned from by doing the fulfillment and either give people like 5 coaching calls for 1,200 bucks of teaching them, what you learned how to do. Um, yeah, I would say don't skip out on the skill aspect because the more skills you learn, the more valuable the solutions that you solve become. Because
mm,
if you solve one problem, which is say like you really get your email sequence like locked down for like email marketing
mm,
and you just sell that solution, it's like, okay, maybe there's a select few people who want to learn how to do this, but if you stack high ticket sales, if you stack um copywriting, email copywriting, the educational
mm,
newsletters, you
mm,
stack offer creation, you stack all these different types of skills, and then you sell the solution, you're
mm.
appealing to a much wider top of funnel group
Yeah.
who will charge higher prices and maybe even you take those skills and you charge high ticket, you get really good
Mm,
at those. Like for instance, I just got an inbound lead for a real estate brokerage and this guy like they didn't really have any social media presence. Like he wants his main goal is to get qualified leads for his business, and he like they did like 5 million in gross income like last year. I was like, holy cow, five income. You want to scale to 10 million, and now you're coming to me as an inbound lead. I can take all the skills that I've learned from creating the lead gen magnets, from writing VSL copy, um, writing the sales message scripts. I can now apply all these skills that I've learned and really help this guy drive revenue towards his business. And that's like the ultimate goal, I think, for the skill acquisition part of things.
yeah.
If you get to the point where you can just be the full stack guy and
Yeah,
take
yeah.
over a company, like drive revenue for them, like your skill stack is invaluable to the market. Like you are irreplaceable. You can solve all the problems when it comes to digital marketing, which is like a good
Okay.
place to be.
Yeah, because you're like you can charge a really high ticket offer for that because you're gonna sell for everything, right?
Exactly. Like you're the one-stop shop. Like he doesn't have to go to everyone else, so everything's taken care of. Your reputation carries your credibility forward and it's just performance at that point, performance and fulfillment.
Awesome, awesome. So just I like to ask this question to everyone that hops in my podcast, dude. So like what would be like just your top five resources, books, authors, or
Mhm,
like podcasts, anything that you would say kind of like built your brand, personality, career? Yeah.
mhm. Number one would definitely have to be the podcast with Naval and Joe Rogan.
Mm,
That one's a really good place just to understand like how powerful the internet really is and like how you can take advantage of it. So that one's like definitely number one. Number two, um, probably be Extreme Ownership by Jocko. If anyone who, especially for anyone who like hasn't played sports or like hasn't done super hard things in the past, like learning about some of those principles and how like Navy SEAL teams are trained is a
Mm,
really good place to like develop discipline. Like you said, David Goggins is also very good. Um, let's see. I actually got into like Buddhism a little bit,
mm,
like past couple months. This one book I read, it was called Awakening from the Daydream, was really, really good. Just to get like a basic meditation practice, spiritual practice, kind of get tapped into your kid-like energy. I would say like some sort of spiritual book or spiritual practice is really good. Maps of Consciousness by David Hawkins is also really good. Um, that's three. So number four, trying to look. Um, if it's someone who really wants to get invested into like the info marketing game, I would say I would actually recommend three books all at the same time. Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson, and then both of Alex Hormozi's books,
mm,
offer $100 million offers and $100 million leads.
yeah.
Those three alone will get you really far. Um, number four, or maybe this is number
No,
five.
yeah.
Um, let's see. I'm reading this one book by Stephen Kotler right now.
Mm,
Um, it's called The Art of Impossible, and it's basically a peak performance primer on like leveraging purpose, passion, mastery, grit, and really like taking advantage of your body's ability to get into flow state. And that's
mm,
something like I want to tap into as much as possible because when you're in a flow state, you're just flowing through the day and like everything's awesome and like your dopamine, norepinephrine,
yeah.
um, your body's chemicals are all being used how they should properly when you're really engaged in a task. So that one's probably number five. It's really, really, really good.
Cool, cool, cool. Um, I've read some of that. I'm reading, what's this? Alex Hormozi. I'm starting with the
Mm,
offers right now. It's a very short book,
nice.
surprisingly, but it's like so full of gems, man.
Yeah, you have to kind of read it as like a textbook of like read the first couple chapters and then like take a day to digest that and like
Yeah.
see how it actually applies to the real world and then like
Mm,
come back to it, learn how to create the offer, learn how to do all these things and see like, okay, like this is his way of doing it, but like how would I do it?
mm.
Yeah, because it's so dense.
Cool, cool, cool. All right, dude. So I had fun having you in. Talked about a lot of stuff and grateful for you, dude.
Thank you, dude. Yeah, grateful for you. Thank you for having me on. This was a blast.
All right.